Good morrows, my friends. My name is XaneKudo. Another vlog is coming your way. Man, it's been quite some time since I started putting videos up on this channel. Um, ever since I started this channel, there's been a lot of things going on lately, and I feel like I should say something about it. One of the things that's going on right now that is kind of bothering me is the reception to okay, you know what? We're going to get this out of the way. Let's talk about fan service in anime, because I've seen people do a lot of things, but there's one article from Kotaku that caught my interest, and that's anime Feminist talks about fan service, or wants to get real with fan service. The link will be in the description below, but basically she wants to basically she sees that there's too much fan service going on within anime as of late, and she wants more options. That's basically the whole gist of the entire argument. There's little details inside of it, but for the most part it really is just about giving more options to people instead of just a whole bunch of fan service. And I agree. Now, I agree, and this, I don't disagree, but I agree. There should be more options besides just fan service, because there's too much of it. I mean, last season, Masogaku and HH was completely all about the fan service, completely. Like, it was so fan servicey that one station in Japan decided not to air it after the first episode, because the rest of the anime was going to be like that. It was so lewd. Basically, if you don't know what it is, I'm not going to spare you. I'm just going to tell you right now because you're assholes. Basically, it's about a guy performing lewd acts on girls to power them up to fight crime or something like that. But basically, that was just completely pure fan service. And there's been a lot of those kind of anime as of late. Now, here comes Keijo, which I've already told you in an earlier video. Keijo, which basically is about a sport. A sport where two people are on something called a land, and the only way they can knock each other off by using their boobs or their butt. So definitely a lot of fan service with that one, and that's what she talks about. She talks about fan service like that, and some people do agree with her. There's been too much fan service, but there is something about it that is basically, I agree, there shouldn't be too much fan service. So with that said, there is one simple problem with that entire argument. And that is that it's a dead horse. The anime community has already talked about fan service for years. We've been talking about it ever since we noticed the increase back since 2008. 2008 was when a whole bunch of fan servicing anime was coming in on the rise, and in 2016 it's not stopping. That's 8 years we've noticed this, and we pretty much came to the conclusion. There's been multiple conclusions, and we figured out that it's cancerous. We don't like fan service. We know the genres that have fan service, and some people avoid that. So they know what to see and what not to see. And that's fine. That is completely fine with them. And for some people who do like the fan service, there's, I like the fan services sometimes. There's other people who like it at times. We've already figured out, we can avoid it if we want to, and we can watch it if we want to. It could be so annoying that it's in the screen all the time that we'll be annoyed by the anime for having it. Sometimes we will expect to have it, and we will get what we want and what is pretty much shown to us. So pretty much you're in two camps when it comes to anime fan service. You got the ones that expect it and the ones that don't. The ones that want it, the ones that do not. So we've already reached this conclusion quite some time ago. But there's another problem with that article. And believe it or not, it has nothing to do with the anime. It has to do with the fact that you attach the word feminist to it. Now, before anybody gets all riled up or anything, hear me out. I don't hate feminism, okay? But there is something known as bait. And when you attach the word feminist to it, that is bait. Not only for people who love anime, but for all the idiots who will come and try to nitpick every single flaw in every anime every season. And it'll get to the point that anime won't be just as enjoyable anymore because you got people pointing out every single issue. And most of the time it's going to be issues about objectifying women. And that's a problem. That's a big problem because you got the ones that actually want to talk about you got ones that want to talk about the fan service in anime and how, you know, it's done. Basically, it's way too much of it. But then you got the ones who think that every single type of fan service is objectifying women. And those are the kind of people I kind of want to not come and talk about anime, because anime is just cartoons, really. It's all just cartoons. It's all fictional. Just like video games, it's all fictional. To be honest, if you kind of think that that's how people are in real life, that's how we have to treat people in real life, then you need to really look at reality. Because it's just anime. There are plenty of anime out there. I do agree that there's a big increase in fan servicing anime, in which case just avoid it. There's nothing wrong with avoiding it. I mean, it's gonna be there. But then you have to wonder, why is there a big increase in anime? Fan servicing anime, at least. And the issue is really in Japan. There have been reports basically saying there are two problems with Japan. There's the declining birth rate and there's an economic problem. Now, those go hand in hand, especially when it comes to anime, because back in the 80s and 90s, there were little kids flying around everywhere. And how anime is marketed marks all the way back to the 60s, where they kind of said, make the anime cheap, but put all of the profits within the products, like the merchandising. And that's how anime has been ever since the 60s. It's always been anime promotes the merchandise. But here's where it all goes downhill. In the 80s and 90s, little kids are flying around, so therefore you could have cheap merchandising and just give it out to the little kids everywhere. Now be that. But nowadays, Japanese people aren't having as much sex anymore because of freaking work hours. There's too many work hours for Japanese people to actually take a break and settle down. Matter of fact, some people actually were killed because of overworking. Yes, you can die by overworking. Matter of fact, recent report in 2015, some woman killed herself because she was too overworked. And there's been reports that yes, there has been overworking. So when you kind of combine that, it means that there's not enough kids to go around to sell these cheap products to. But then you gotta wonder, what does that have to do with anime? Well, let's try to connect it. Basically, there's not enough kids flying around, so therefore you can't sell cheap products. So now you gotta look towards to see what kind of demographic can we sell our products to? What kind of demographic will buy our merchandise? So you'll have to look at all the demographics. And unfortunately, the biggest demographic for anime in Japan currently right now is hardcore otaku. The ones that want the 2D big boobs and the big booty. And the other ones, the young adults who want the action, drama, romance, are dwindling. So therefore, you have to market to the biggest one, to the biggest demographic to get the most money out of it. And that's not including the fact that they're losing money through piracy. So their economic problem kind of lies in a lot of things, and animes included. I mean, you got figurines, life-size figurines that sell for around $7,000. Life-size, and they're just figurines standing there. $7,000. Do you know what the fuck you can do with that kind of money? I mean, I understand it doesn't really have anything, not really that, but I understand that you don't like fan service, the anime, but Japan's not really complaining about it. They just willfully ignore it. Really, the only people who complain about anime is America. And that leads to another issue. Apparently, Japan doesn't care much about anime as America does, even though that's their home country, because, well, we're worried about every single piece of anime that comes out, even the short forms. Japan kind of just worries about everything else besides that. But when it comes down to Japan and what we want from it, we're worried about every single piece of anime. But if I had to wrap it up all together, basically, there's no kids running around, so therefore you can't sell cheap products. You gotta be more expensive. So therefore you have to try to market it to everybody out there until you realize that when people are overworking, they can't get together. So therefore, no more sex. Therefore, no more kids. And the only people who are the biggest market right now is the people who just don't want it and they just want to watch anime all their life, which is the hardcore otaku. So therefore, you gotta find out what the hardcore otaku want, and what they want is big boobs and big butts. So therefore, you make all that, and there you go. That's your profit. So, there you go. Now, the anime industry has gotten better. It's getting better. But when it comes down to America, sometimes we just gotta take what we get. I mean, like I said, fan servicing topics has been dead for quite some time. It's a dead horse, no longer able to be beat. So trying to resurrect something just to put your input into it, it's fine. But it's already been talked about and discussed. So if you weren't there when we were already in the midst of the big fan service debate, then right now it's not really, that influential, and I don't think that anything you say can probably really change that. Only thing you can say is just that, you can complain about it, but at the same time, just ignore it. I mean, everything has a market. Everything has fans. So if it's not your thing, then just stay away from it. But if you happen to like it, then hey, it's there for you to enjoy. And I do agree, there should be more options. So just try to find some more options. I mean, every season a new anime comes in. Sometimes the season's not yours. Other times that season can be everything you want. That's how life is. That's how shows are. You like some, you don't like some. There's some for you, some are not for you. Just keep at it and you'll eventually find, your good seasons and your bad seasons. Because everybody has their own thing to get and love. Well, anyway, that's just my bit of ranting for today for that article. Like I said, I don't hate feminists, but now you're just kind of inviting a lot of SJWs into the whole mix, and I can tell it's not going to be a pretty thing. But thank you guys so much for listening to me, and don't forget to subscribe for more stuff. So, until then, see you next time.